You're tuned in to Oilers Nation every day with Tyler Yaremchuk, live every weekday on the Nation Network YouTube.
What's going on, Oilers Nation? It is a Sherwood Ford Giant game day here on Oilers Nation Everyday. As always, coming to you live from the Sports Closet studio. The Oilers coming off an impressive win over the Pittsburgh Penguins, and now they'll look to start their road trip with a bang. That's where we're going to start with the lead. There is a lot to get to today on the show. Frank Seravalli and our Insider segment, What's Frank Hearing?, is coming up in about 10 minutes time. I see the YouTube chat is already alive and well. If you want your comments heard, you can watch us live every weekday, noon Mountain Time, the Nation Network on YouTube. We're also streaming on Twitter and Facebook. Before we dig into the game, before we talk about everything, Jay, new items from the Sports Closet, looking pretty fresh.
That's where you go to get your stuff.
Yeah,
they got all the goods.
2 different styles of hats. Which one's your preference?
Oh, well, I gravitate towards black, so I need to peacock here. I'm going with like the beigey tan.
I kind of like the beige too. I think it's a good look.
There it is. All right, Tyler just got a new hat.
I'm gonna wear it for
right in front of you, folks.
Shout out to the Sports
They
Closet.
also sell this hat there, so
they do sell Nation gear at the Sports Closet. Plenty of good stuff going on there. All right. Michael's in the chat, says, "What's up? Big road trip. I'm calling a few Yamo goals." That's Michael's big prediction.
Oh man,
in the YouTube chat.
Are we talking about Yamo?
Sure, we can lead the show with a little Yamamoto talk. There's a lot of guys who aren't scoring right now 5-on-5, but
you can see that guy is feeling the pressure. He is gripping the stick too tight. Like so many times he handled the puck. He was put in good situations, and he was either trying to do too much before he received the pass, or couldn't receive the pass because I don't know. There's nerves there clearly.
I had this rant yesterday on Oilers Nation Radio. New episodes drop every Tuesday and Friday, wherever you get your podcast from. And my thing, I think people are being a little too impatient with him.
I think he's being impatient as well.
And that's fair. If you're going to be a 20-goal scorer in the NHL, you are going to score, on average,
quick math,
once every 4 games.
Bang.
Okay.
How many games have we played?
He's only played 5.
Oh, yeah,
because he missed a game. So he's a little behind his pace. But again, 20-goal scorers, if that's all you're going to be in that 20-25 goal range, you're going to be a streaky scorer. There are going to be plenty of times throughout the year where you go 5, 6, 7, 8 games without a goal. And then there's going to be stretches where you pop 5 in a 10-game span and your average kind of all balances out at the end of the day. That's all this is with guys like Yamamoto and Puljujarvi, I think. The team wasn't playing great at 5-on-5 through the first 3 games of the season. They're starting to pick up the pace a little bit at 5v5, and I think the goals are going to start to come for some of these guys.
Well, we could talk about that second period and say that it's definitely arrived.
Franchise record, 26 shots on goal in the middle frame against the Pittsburgh Penguins. It felt like Connor McDavid going down, and I talked about this yesterday on the show. It felt like McDavid going down almost had the rest of the team kind of go like, oh, shit.
We got to step up.
Yeah, we better step up.
That was weird. Like, that was the catalyst, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, man, did the air just empty the building when McDavid was just staying down?
Were you at the game?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then when he came back, though, like there was a buzz in the crowd. Everyone's like, oh, my God, he's back. Thank God he's back.
Like he was laying on the ice. And then when he came off the ice, I'm like, oh, my God, that's not like I thought he broke some ribs. That was my concern.
Yeah, and it's always concerning when you see a guy go down and they're doing like the leg kick onto the ice, and like that was going on with McDavid.
And not putting any weight on. I was like, oh my God, yeah, it was scary. It was scary.
So I was at the game, and when he went down, I told this story on Oilers Nation Radio. I was like, oh man, I got a great view of the tunnel, so I'm gonna like see him coming back from my seat. So I pre-typed out as soon as he left the ice. I pre-typed out a tweet: Connor McDavid back on the Oilers bench. And I just waited, and I fired it off as soon as I saw him coming down the tunnel. I broke the news. I checked TweetDeck after. I was the first one to tweet out McDavid's back because I was so confident. I wanted to like put the good energy out there.
Did it pop?
Yeah, it popped like pretty good.
I was very relieved because I got hung up socializing. I hate to admit it in that intermission, and I was waiting to get back, and I looked at my phone and I saw the tweet, and I was like, "Oh, thank God, he's back! He's back." Then I ran to my seat.
Yeah. All right. Let's bring in our guy Liam here because I want to give Liam props. That's why we're going to him early here. He nailed yesterday on our show Dominic Kubalik 2+ points at +325. This is a Dominic Kubalik fan club, Liam.
It was nice to see, and Montreal didn't pull through for me. My face is not moving, is it? But my mouth
No,
is
it's
moving,
not.
so we'll
Nice
keep
to see you
rolling.
frozen.
Yeah.
You're on the farm.
So yeah, the Dominic Kubalik was big. That was plus 325, and I hit it. So nice little Tuesday night for Liam. Me and my chickens.
Yeah, you and your chickens out on the farm. If you don't understand the Liam farm joke, you need to go listen to Oilers Nation Radio yesterday. For some reason, Liam is living on a farm this
Gentleman
week.
farmer.
Yeah.
I asked him, hey, Liam, where are my eggs? I asked for a dozen eggs from once you get the confidence, I guess, to work with these chickens.
My chickens only produced 3 eggs this morning. So
What?
I got to go back at the end of the day and see what they did for me. But yeah,
they don't trust you yet. That's why.
maybe they're as intimidated by me as I am by them. So they're not able to produce. We'll see. We'll find out later on. Stay
Bring him
tuned.
into the house and watch the other game with him. Really bond with him tonight.
Liam's chickens still producing more than the Oilers' bottom 6. Huh?
Hey.
3. Yeah, there's you.
Hey.
That was easy. Yep. Okay, Oilers taking on the Blues tonight. I like this graphic actually, Alex. Let's pull this up and discuss this a little bit, because while maybe guys like Yamamoto and Puljujarvi aren't scoring, the Oilers are getting some contributions from other pieces of their lineup, and that was the case against Pittsburgh. Nuge, Hyman, Kane, all scoring, all putting up a few shots on goal. I think Kane now has the Oilers' franchise single game record for shots on goal in a game. They credited him with 9 in that hockey game.
He should have had like 4 goals. Like he had some grade A chances, and he just wasn't getting them where they needed to be. But I'm like, he needed to score. If he didn't, that would have been.
Yeah,
that would have weighed on you.
But he scored a big one. He had a good game. It was great to see other pieces kind of step up. And the Oilers may have found something with that new look. We'll call it the second line with Draisaitl. When McDavid went down, they switched up the way things were going a little bit. I think they have something here with Kane, Yamamoto, and Draisaitl on the line.
Yeah, they looked. You can't argue the result. Like they were buzzing. So it was really good to see. One thing to note on the Hyman goal, because everyone thinks I'm so anti-dad. I'm not anti-dad. I respect the skill. Like that was a hell of a pass that he made to Spring Hyman and get a job on Hyman to score.
That was Bouchard's best game of the year.
Yeah, he played better. Yep. He definitely played better. And like everyone stepped up. The first period, we're like, oh boy. Like, why are we leaving Sidney Crosby on an isolated scoring island to have a chance to score that goal? But we woke up and Dad played great.
We're going to get to our insider segment, What's Frank Hearing, in a couple of minutes here, but I want to talk quickly about this matchup tonight against the Blues. This is a St. Louis team that absolutely locked down the Oilers less than a week ago.
Us. Couldn't even breathe. I couldn't even breathe at home watching that game.
So far through 4 games this season, the St. Louis Blues at 5v5 have allowed 24 shots, 34 shots, 21 shots against the Oilers, and then 35 in their last game out. For me tonight, the Oilers, obviously, you got to get the offense going, but a big part of that, they need to get their cycle game going a little bit. You know, I don't expect them to be scoring off the rush a ton against this Blues team, but if they can get the cycle going, that could lead to some power play opportunities, and that'll be the path to victory tonight for the Oilers, is establishing a strong cycle.
You got to outwork them. Like they're still like a team that's not far away from winning a championship, with a lot of the key core pieces still there. Some have obviously gone. And they know to play that game. Right. So you got to outwork them. And, we've got the Zach Hymans of the world that are willing to outwork anyone, but the whole team's got to subscribe to that. And that causes things to get loose and get some goals. Like we got to score. Like that's the key to the game against St. Louis is score.
Well, yes. On the other side of scoring is goaltending. Jack Campbell was excellent in that game against St. Louis. He was very good against Pittsburgh as well, but they're going with Stuart Skinner tonight. Good or bad?
Yeah, I found that interesting because we're playing Chicago next. And Chicago technically should be the layup, even though their record would suggest they're not as difficult as maybe they are on paper, but maybe they're just overachieving at the moment. So you'd think Stu would go into that game.
Yeah.
But who knows? I'm just going to trust in Jay, and Jay we trust still. He's in his power pose. He made the call. You. Oh, yeah, don't trust me.
All right.
Threw me off there.
I know, sorry.
Can't trust me.
I like that they're going to Skinner, though. Mike McKenna, the goaltending guru at Daily Faceoff, has been on this kind of all year, that teams need to stop just always defaulting to putting in your second goalie or your backup goalie in the second half, like mix it up a little bit. And I kind of like that the Oilers are doing that. My thinking is in the second of a back-to-back, that is usually when you are going to, or more often, you'll need your goalie to steal you one, right? If you're not going to be as sharp. So put your better goalie in the second game.
Well, let's unpack this a little bit. So, okay. Stu's playing tonight against St. Louis.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Soup's going to go in against Chicago.
Yep.
right? So what's the strategy here? Is it to get Soup into Chicago? Maybe like that's a game we should win, have confidence to then go carry that into Calgary where he got lit up last time? Or does this mean that we're going Soup because we don't feel confident with Soup against Calgary?
Actually, you know what?
It sends a weird signal. Calgary did it with us starting Vladar, and it worked.
Yeah.
So what kind of voodoo is being worked right now?
Maybe the Calgary start's just going to be given to whichever goalie's the best in this game, or in these sets of games.
But you're setting up Campbell to have the better chance at looking good. So I'm like, is that the thing? Is it like get him into Chicago, get him a big win, feeling really good and proud going into the BOA on Saturday?
Yeah.
If so, like I said, this is like the whole psychology of sports that I find fascinating from time to time.
Yeah, McKay is in the chat and says he likes the decision with Stu tonight. Have Soup build confidence up tomorrow. We're going to get to all your thoughts in the YouTube chat in just a bit here, but I see our friend Frank Seravalli is ready to go. So let's get to another edition of What's Frank Hearing? There he is. What's going on, Frank Seravalli?
What do you hear?
I'd be really interested, speaking of goaltending matchups, do the Flames start Jacob Markstrom on Saturday night in the BOA?
Ooh. Yeah, they almost have to double down on Vladar, don't they?
Well, I would think, given that this playoff matchup is still really rather likely given the division format, either first round or second round, like you would think that you'd want to get Markstrom getting some good vibes back against the Oilers at some point, wouldn't you?
That's why I was surprised they didn't start him in the first game of the season. And I get that Sutter did the whole, like, no, we're playing Vladar once a week through the season, blah, blah, blah. But, like, to me, it sent a weird message to Jacob Markstrom of, like, you're not getting this one tonight. Like, it was a good chance for him to get redemption and, like you said, build some confidence against this Oilers team.
Well, with Sutter's philosophy, Vladar's actually due to play on Saturday because Markstrom played against Pittsburgh.
Oh my!
And how about the fact that we played 3 hockey games since we played Pittsburgh, and Calgary plays Pittsburgh last night and doesn't have to play until Saturday against us.
Oh, jeez. I mean, it's too early in the year.
I know,
it's grind, and it works both ways.
Frank, the Oilers tomorrow will be in Chicago to take on the Blackhawks. What are the chances there is a future Oiler in that Blackhawks lineup?
Probably pretty small, I would imagine. Like, I mean, if you're talking Patrick Kane, if we were to handicap it at this point, I don't know, a 10% chance, maybe. Like, I don't know that, I guess I'll say this about Patrick Kane. I don't know that everyone in the Oilers front office, as much as they may be intrigued by the idea, is all that sold on the idea that he's the ideal fit for this team moving forward.
There's another veteran Stanley Cup champion on that Chicago team, and that's Jonathan Toews. Would he, there's not as much trade talk around Toews as there is around Kane. There at least wasn't throughout the summer. But is Toews the guy who would maybe make a little bit of sense for the Oilers?
Honestly, I think there's some that think he makes more sense as a fit, potentially. And I don't know, is he interested? Like, that's the thing that you have to weigh out with both these guys, in Kane and Toews, is that they both hold all the keys in terms of where they go, or frankly don't go in this case. So they have to be intrigued and interested in the opportunity. On a short-term basis, I don't know who wouldn't be intrigued or interested in the opportunity to play on a team with 97 and 29, given what they accomplished last year in the playoffs. Not just winning 2 rounds, but just the otherworldly production that we saw from them. And if that's going to be the case again, like, the Oilers are going to be knocking on the door of a Stanley Cup.
Do we think the Duncan Keith factor plays a role in this, about maybe swaying these guys to come and play, one of these guys to come and play for Edmonton?
I could see that. I mean, look, players always want to know. Players talk. These conversations, the interesting thing about that, Jay, is that these conversations occur like now or in the summer. Like, hey, what's it like over there in Edmonton? How was the coach? What was the team like? Was it a good room? Is it a good enough place to live or to hang your hat for a bit? And I think those are all questions that, players talk amongst themselves and ask. And, I wouldn't be surprised if some of that groundwork was already laid by someone like Duncan Keith, who, by the way, still remains in the Oilers organization.
He's on payroll for a reason.
That's right. Come back, Seth Jones or Caleb Jones.
Yeah. For the Oilers,
Seth Jones would look good, by the way. I'll tell you that. maybe not that contract, but I did this whole deep dive on Daily Faceoff, this archetype rankings, and we posted our top 20 puck movers. I was shocked to see some of the underlying numbers last year on a really bad team in Chicago, how productive Seth Jones was at moving the puck.
It's just that contract. Like, I mean, it's an albatross. You could never move that, at least with the Kane and Toews thing. I know they're older and all that, but like, you retain it, you get a third team to retain it again, and pretty much any team can squeeze them in. But I mean, Chicago, we're going off on a bit of a tangent here, but that Jones contract, for that to come right as you're now starting a rebuild and it's just starting to kick in, that's just ugly.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know if you guys saw, but there were 2 minor league trades made by the Hawks today. And not to dive too deep into the Hawks, but they were like, I was just poking around. I said, well, like, you got any more blockbusters like up your sleeve? What's going on there in Chicago? And I was saying, you guys might want to start plucking off pieces because you're not supposed to be winning. You gotta tone that down a bit.
Well, yeah, like they have a winning record so far.
They don't want Bedard.
Yeah, 4-2 on the year. The Hawks, they'll be the Oilers' opponent tomorrow. All the Oilers stuff we're talking about, Frank, is just, it's so far down the line. Like, where no one's expecting anything to happen in the next month. But in Vancouver, can they afford to be patient, or are you getting the sense that maybe the pressure's mounting there?
Well, they're trying to be patient. I just don't know how long they can keep their powder dry. And that's really what they're trying to do, is to not make a panic move, to not overreact and not potentially make the situation worse. I mean, when you look, the coaching situation is one thing, but when you look at the roster, there's 31 other teams out there that are calling and offering you a lifeline. And really it's disguised as an anchor. I mean, that's, teams are always willing and ready to help out when you're in a tough spot. And I think you should, rightly so, draw a side eye at that. But they can't afford to be in a spot where they're down and their season is swirling down the drain like it was last year, where they wait until the first week in December and then blow things up. This is a team that doubled down on its roster this offseason. They re-signed JT Miller. They added forward help when they really needed help on the back end. And I think that's sort of been plain for everyone to see, is this team, as it's structured, isn't set up to be competitive the way their defense core is. And they need help. They need depth. And it's not easy to find, but I think plenty of other teams have gone out and made moves this summer that indicated that it was possible.
For me, the loop I get myself into with the Vancouver Canucks is, you're right, last year, maybe they waited too long to make that coaching change and their season was lost. And you look at this year, that's always the easiest bullet, right? Is just fire the coach, bring in a new coach. Okay, so do you be patient with this group, because you don't just want to look at this core and say, hey, we're firing another coach, another new coach coming in. But like, if you don't do that and you don't make any changes and the season slips away, like, it's just weird loop I'm in. We're like, you can't fire the coach. You can't bail out this core again and say, hey, not on you guys, it's on the coach. But again, if you wait and don't make any changes, your season's toast. Like, what do you do?
Well, that's why I've been thinking that we might end up seeing a trade coming the longer this goes on. They've got Seattle and Pittsburgh to close out this week. Seattle's much improved. If you actually look at the standings today, they're in a playoff spot. They're way more competitive. And not saying they're going to be there when the season ends, but it's entirely conceivable that the Canucks get through this week and are 0-7-2. And all of a sudden you're winless in 9, more than 10% of the season. And you go, okay, we don't have hardly any points in the bank and we've got a ton of work to do. Maybe we go down a path where we trade someone and really shake things up. And the guy that I keep coming back to is Bo Horvat. He's the easiest guy to circle in that group and say, doesn't have a contract next year. His comments last week were alarming, saying he doesn't know if he ever is going to be able to win here. And he's someone that has real value in the league as a true, complete player. It's just a guy to throw out there that makes so much sense if you're going to really try and shake it up.
Which team would you think would be targeting Bo Horvat?
I think there's a number of ones that could actually, not just fit him in, but find him as a really nice fit. And we talked about Jonathan Toews. Like, I could actually see Bo Horvat being a really smart fit for the Oilers too. That could be someone that, you plug in and, even on an expiring contract, like, I think it could make a lot of sense, without the guarantee of him re-signing longer term, that, really just adds a dimension to your team and makes you so much harder to play against.
Last one before we let you go. How excited are you to be in Phoenix or Tempe for the opening of Mullet Arena?
I'm really looking forward to seeing the behind the scenes. I don't know if you guys saw those images that came out this morning from the team area, if you want to call it that. It looks like a desert in an arena. Like
Festival 2.0.
it looks awful, honestly. And I've been hearing complaints from players that have been there in training camp. And I've talked about this on our show. And every time the league and the Coyotes kind of shoo us away and say, like, nothing to see here, move along. And I get that the arena itself is beautiful, but it's still a capacity 4,700 seat arena in the NHL. And the rest of the facilities aren't done yet. There's a lot of players that are unhappy saying this is not up to NHL standards. Now, December, does it look different? Probably, but probably not a good look to start. So I'm curious to see it all with my own eyes.
Yeah, like, I mean, we laugh about it, fans. It's a joke on Twitter. Some people are like, oh, it'll be great that they're on a college campus. It's hilarious. And while everyone on the outside jokes, like, this could be a legitimate issue and like a gripe that the NHLPA has is like these standards aren't sufficient for professional athletes.
Okay, so you guys will enjoy this. I've been sitting here going like, okay, I'm a media guy. I'm going here to watch it all. What is the proper take here? Is it like, this is embarrassing, old man yell at cloud, can't believe NHL team plays in 4,700 seat arena? Or is it like, this thing is absolutely wired, there are 2,000 college kids here drinking dollar beers on Tuesday nights, and it's the most electric atmosphere in the NHL? The answer is that it's probably somewhere in between, but that doesn't really make for a sexy story.
I think it's exactly that, though. It's that, like, hey, the atmosphere is electric, way better than it ever was at Glendale and all of this, but the players aren't happy, the PA's pissed, and it's not sustainable long-term until these facilities get up.
As a fan, it's like seeing your favorite band in a really, really small venue, which to me, from a fan experience, I think it would be electric, but I understand everything from the player's perspective. Like they've got, it's tough conditions for sure. But
you'd also have to then think that the Coyotes actually have fans. So that,
though an arena, that's the thing, right? Expats are going to fill that arena to cheer the opposing team.
Yeah. I don't know.
It should be a draw when you think about it. It should be like, hey, like, Phoenix, it's like 23 degrees or 24 degrees Celsius this week. Like, perfect weekend, perfect place to go in the winter to see your team in an intimate setting.
Just not on a weekend.
Yeah.
And not on a weekend. Okay, we've gone late here, Frank, but finally, this is a show for homers. This is a homer Oilers Nation every day. So how many games will it take the Phillies to beat the Astros in the World Series?
I don't think it's going to happen.
I gave you the homer out. I set it up for you, Frank.
I know. There's something like, I don't like this 5-day break. Maybe this is just like the Negadelphia in me, the nervous energy, but this team has been playing on mojo for a long time. They've got like something special, but when you take 5 days out of it and you're hungover for one of them, which they clearly were on Monday, then and you're playing an Astros team that's been an absolute machine and has also been here before multiple times. They're not going to be nervous at all. So I don't know. I'm not feeling great about it. I'll say that.
All right, Frank, you enjoy the 23 degrees Celsius weather in Arizona, and we'll chat with you again next week. Thanks for hopping on.
Sounds good, guys. See ya.
All right, that's another edition of What's Frank Hearing? Now let's get to the wrap. What's Frank hearing? Things aren't good in Arizona. I don't know. Maybe that one sticks. Maybe that'll be the name that finally sticks for Frank's segment.
What's good in Arizona?
No, what's Frank hearing?
Oh,
I don't know. I thought it's good. Either way, let's bring in Liam here. We got to get to our betting for the day because we are quickly running out of time on today's show. It flew by. Liam, last night you nailed Dominic Kubalik over 1.5 points. Tonight, what do you like?
Tonight, I'm going with an Oilers win, parlayed with a Leon Draisaitl point. Every time the Oilers have won, Draisaitl's got a point. So we'll take that one even money. And then I'm going back to Old Reliable, which I've hit once. Power play goal and an empty net. This has happened in 4 games this season for the Oilers. So, hey, let's see if it happens for a 5th.
Old Reliable Etzel bet, eh? The one that hits once in a million.
Hey,
I like it.
Seeing a pretty good rate right now. I think we'll do pretty good. We're on a decent roll right now. Hit big yesterday. Went perfect the day before. It's only Wednesday. Let's see what else we can get going this week.
You know I love you, but you know I absolutely hate that power play goal, empty net goal match. I just cannot stand it. But I like the Oilers to win and Draisaitl to scoop up a point. I'm also on the Evan Bouchard shot prop again. That's one of my 3 plays on the day. He's hitting it consistently.
How many shots did he have last game?
6.
Yeah, okay.
Crushed it. He had 3 in the first period alone. You're getting plus 105 on it. Hammer it, hammer it, hammer it. Bouchard shot prop is my best bet. Jay, what do you like tonight?
I went Oilers money line just to be safe. I did a Oilers money line. So I did a Betway package builder. Yeah. So I went Oilers money line over 6.5, Connor McDavid goal.
Okay.
And then I went Bouch first to score. Bouch is due. And I went Tyson Barrie point because it was playing plus 120 and he's on the power play. So that just seems like a very simple bet. So sprinkle it around, but Bouch is due. He's definitely getting shots on net. And I think he's starting to kind of get his feel for his game here as the season develops, both defensively and offensively. So, all right. In Bouch we trust. Dad is part of the solution until we trade him for something that we need. But for now, we love him.
There you go. That is our Betway report. 19+. Please play responsibly. I am on the Bouchard shot prop. That is my bet of the game. I'm also in one of the other games tonight. Islanders, Rangers to go over and Anders Lee to pick up a point. There you go. That's what I'm riding. 3 NHL plays for this evening. Interesting that Frank, just to wrap up the show here. Toews, I like it. I think Toews is more realistic than Kane just for a handful of reasons. The cost to get him's lower. That means you could save some assets to go get a blue liner and all that. But the idea of going out and getting a centerman, that's really intriguing to me. You'd move McLeod to the third line wing spot because you'd have to move out salary to make it happen anyway. So it's probably Puljujarvi or Fogel going the other way in some sort of a deal. But even he mentioned Horvat, like getting a third line center who gives you just an unbelievable top 9. God damn, that'd be
build
tempting.
down the middle and move McLeod to the wing. Like McLeod was absolutely buzzing.
40-goal pace, Ryan McLeod.
That kid is getting more comfortable at the NHL level, and it's so good to see. That guy buzzes around, and then when he's got confidence with the puck to actually start making moves and plays around guys, like it was so good to see him score. Great shot.
It's a great shot.
So that's good to see. So yeah, move him to the wing and put like a legitimate, reliable stud defenseman center. That's good. Then we just need to add a defensive piece.
It's going to be a lot of that kind of talk.
I think our goaltending's there. I feel good about Jack.
Yeah. An idea of a centerman. I'll have more on that later today on Oilers Nation. I'm going to write a little article about that. So look for that on OilersNation.com as well as all your other game day needs. Shout out to our friends at Sherwood Ford. This has been a Sherwood Ford Giant game day edition of Oilers Nation Everyday. As always, live from the Sports Closet studio where you can look as good as I do in this beige hat.
You're wearing it backwards. People don't know what it is.
I know. I'm a backwards hat kind of guy, though.
That's fair.
That's the vibe. All right. Thanks for tuning in today, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow at noon Mountain Time for another Sherwood Ford Giant Game Day edition of the show. Back to back. We'll talk to you then.